Former President Trump addressed his supporters overnight, and he was declared the winner early this morning.
And as Jared Hill reports, Trump's solid victory this time around is a story of voter turnout.
This is a magnificent victory for the American people.
Overnight, Donald Trump relished in what his supporters call the greatest political comeback in American history.
We overcame obstacles that nobody thought possible, and it is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy?
Trump's campaign strategy to appeal to people who don't vote frequently in key battleground states worked, ultimately putting him well over the required 270 electoral votes. And it's what played out in make or break Pennsylvania.
People who voted early, they went overwhelmingly for Kamala Harris. But then what happened yesterday? Boom, Donald Trump turned out more people day of.
Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign has always said if she loses, she'll concede the race. That call to her opponent could come today. She's also expected to address supporters at her alma mater, Howard University.
You won't hear from the vice president tonight.
The crowd there dispersed last night after learning Harris wouldn't make an appearance. As Team Trump prepares to head back to the White House, they're calling for hope and optimism.
He is going to be a president for all Americans.
Senior advisor Jason Miller says the president-elect can hit the ground running with executive orders.
He can simply flip the switch on day one, secure the border, start the energy exploration again, which will help with reducing inflation, making things more affordable.
A vast majority of voters nationwide described the economy as bad. It was a top concern among Trump voters. Jared Hill, CBS News, the White House.
And the president-elect will also have at least a Senate majority on his side. The House, though, is still up for grabs.
In Kentucky, Amendment 2 failed. Voters were asked whether state lawmakers should be allowed to change the state's constitution to allow public tax dollars to be spent on private schools.
And more than 60% of voters voted against it. Now, it was believed Amendment 2 would be a tough sell in rural areas because public schools are often the largest employers in a county, so voters are very protective of their local schools. And there aren't a lot of private schools in rural areas as well, so rural voters may not feel like vouchers would benefit them.
Amendment 2 gives the opportunity for the people to vote, and they clearly made a statement that they want public dollars going to public education. So I'm just really pleased with that outcome. And I think it's really in the state of Kentucky, and really it's I think a signal across the nation what people want, which is to support our public schools.
And Kentucky Amendment 1 was also a big issue. It asked voters if they were in favor of requiring citizenship to vote. Now, that amendment passed with more than 60% of the vote. A lot of people thought it was already illegal for non-citizens to vote, and it is. But GOP lawmakers said they just wanted to strengthen the law by adding language to the state constitution. Kentucky's congressional incumbents are returning to Washington to represent the Bluegrass state.
That's right. District 1 covers southwestern Kentucky. Republican incumbent James Comer beat Democrat Aaron Marshall with more than 70% of the vote. Now, District 2 covers Bowling Green all the way up to Bullitt County. Incumbent Brett Guthrie easily defeated Democrat Hank Linderman. And in District 6, which includes Lexington, Republican incumbent Andy Barr won re-election. And Louisville native also Morgan McGarvey easily won re-election in District 3, which includes his hometown. Now, McGarvey beat Mike Craven about 62% to 38%.
I was the first freshman Democrat in the country to pass a bill through the House of Representatives this year. I was the only freshman Democrat in the entire country who passed 2 bills through the House, supporting our veterans, supporting our small business owners. I'm going to continue to do what I've always done. Just stand up where I think is right, fight for the people of Louisville while trying to work to get things done. That's what I did in my first term. That's what we're going to do in the second term as well.
And McGarvey is the only Democrat in Kentucky's congressional delegation. Before joining Congress, McGarvey was a state senator for a decade, including 4 years as a top-ranking Democrat in the GOP-dominated chamber.
All 9 Indiana congressional districts were on the ballot. In District 9, which includes Clark, Floyd, and Scott counties, Republican incumbent Aaron Halchin won another term in office with about 65% of the vote over Democrat Timothy Peck and Libertarian Russell Brooksbank. And in District 8, which is just west of record. Republican Mark Messmer won the open congressional seat, and Congressman Larry Bucshon is returning at the end of the session. Staying in Indiana, voters in the state chose a new governor on Tuesday. With about 55% of the vote, Republican Mike Braun is the new governor-elect, defeating Democrat Jennifer McCormick and Libertarian Donald Rainwater. Braun addressed supporters in Indianapolis last night. He promised to continue helping the Hoosier State prosper and grow.
If you've got good principles and you stick to them, regardless of what you pursue, if you stick to them, you'll end up in the long run doing okay. And then I come back to faith, family, and community. We've been blessed beyond any measure. All I can tell you is now we've jumped this hurdle, this hard deadline, and really, I can't wait to hit the ground running, taking this state to a place where they put us with Texas, Florida, Tennessee.
And of course, we'll bring you much more election coverage locally and nationally throughout the hour. We also have results online. Just head over to WLKY.com and of course, download our free mobile app. And again, Vice President Harris is scheduled to speak tonight at 6 o'clock. We'll bring that straight to you live right here on WLKY and CBS.